Well, welcome guys to another episode of Millennials in Ministry. I'm your host, Erin V. Lashley, and today I have on the show with us the Hamiltons, Justin and Delicia Hamilton. Welcome, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Erin.
Can I say before we get started that I'm offended? How many people
Why?
how many people have you had do this already?
This is the 25th episode.
The 26th?
25th.
25th?
Hold on. The
I
first
thought
thing,
maybe 10.
So I'm
No.
offended
no,
that it
because
took 25 other people before we got to do one. That's what I'm offended
okay.
about.
The reason for that is because I wanted to establish what I was doing first and then have my friends on. You know what I mean? Like before we bring
That's
you
good.
on, like
That's good.
yeah.
That's a good.
You don't want it to be like janky, you know, I want it to be good.
So you tried 25 people before we were okay.
That's how
Yeah.
I look at it.
You're good.
Yes. See?
I was
I'm thinking
all
about you.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about you guys.
Yeah.
But anyways, I've known these guys for like 2.5 years now. July of 2016 is when I encountered them. It was actually a service, and I was working at Impact Church at the time on the operations team, and I was feeling like, okay, it's my job to make people feel comfortable. They're new. They were sitting in the back. Like I thought they were there for the first time. Little did I know we were hiring them to be the youth and young adult pastors, you know, and then I was super embarrassed once I figured out, oh, they're like staff members like me. Like I didn't realize that part. But so anyways, I've known them for a while. They lead and pastor the youth and young adults at Impact Church in Scottsdale. So I'm happy to have you guys. But since you did your whole little spiel about being offended, you know, I want to know from you guys like one or two things, maybe even the people that do know you don't know about you.
Okay.
Well, I gave you number one, that I'm highly offended. Well, I was highly offended, but now I'm not as offended anymore because
Okay.
you changed my perspective. That's why
Good.
this is conversation is good, because they changed perspective. Number two, for me, if I had lived my dream, I would have never been doing this because I wouldn't be in ministry. So I wouldn't have qualified for your podcast. I would be doing another profession. So ministry was not my first, second, third choice
Gotcha.
for a career.
Yeah. Something that you guys might not know about us is we met when we were 15, and then I also have been part of doing ministry as a Christian, fully like involved in church since I was 15 years old. So I didn't grow up being raised like that. So
Yeah. No, that's super cool. So I want to ask you guys a little bit about the relationship conference coming up, like what it is, why you want to do it, and where the theme "Get Your Ship Together" comes from. So why put this thing on? Like, what's the story behind it?
Oh, you go ahead.
So, well, you got two questions. So the first thing, why do we want to do a conference? Well, first of all, we start with the theme. So the theme of the conference came from a series that we did with Culture Shock Young Adults at Impact Church back in May of this year. And we have a bunch of young adults that we didn't do a relationship series in February because I don't want us to be basic like every other church and talk about relationships.
Okay, right.
Having a dry Valentine's. But people kept bringing it up. So I was like, it was kind of out of frustration and then also out of, oh, this might catch. And then so we just decided to do a series called Get Your Ship Together. And it was supposed to be a 1 or 2 week series. And then the response was really great. So we were like, okay, we'll extend it another week. And I think we ended up doing like 3 or 4 weeks of it.
Yeah.
And it was only supposed to be one. We've been to conference. We're conference people. We love conferences. We love going to conferences and learning stuff. But I realized that I've been to different conferences for different reasons, and I don't feel like they always apply to everyone. I feel like you go to a leadership conference, and that's great if you're passionate about leadership. But if you don't feel like a leader, you're not passionate about leadership, then the leadership conference isn't for you. Or you go to a worship conference and listen to amazing worship leaders and be in the presence of God and all that. But if that's not really what you're passionate about, then that's not for you either.
Yeah.
But everybody is either in a relationship, just got out of a relationship, or is looking to be in another better relationship.
Sure.
Relationships are something that none of us it's just a part of human life. We're always in and out of some form of relationship. So we thought relationship conference would be something that would be all inclusive. You couldn't talk yourself out of it. You need it.
Yeah.
I need it. And so we thought it's not happening, and we're instead of like, let's just do it. Let's do it.
Right, right. No, I think it's cool. What were you gonna say, Delicia?
No,
Anything?
no. Like, I just think it's something that's honestly, it's exciting to be able to do, and I think that it's going to be something that we are going to really see so much from just a relationship conference. I think that's overall just a good something that I would personally want to go to every year if I could.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Were you like banging something just now? Okay. No, that's cool.
Erin?
Well, you know, with all of the things that you're going to be talking about at the relationship conference, and I'm really excited about it. Like, I've been to a lot of conferences myself and put on a lot of conferences, like just working in church most of my life, but I've never been a part of one that was solely about relationships. So I'm really excited about it. I love the theme as well. And
sorry, just got all
no, you're good. You're good. First time for everything. First time for everything. But with that in mind, I kind of want to go through the different ships, you know, like marriage, relationship, friendship, being single, all of those things, and just kind of ask you guys different questions about that. So the first ship being the marriage relationship. And you guys pastor millennials, you pastor youth, and you work a lot with the parents of those age brackets. With that in mind, you know, what have you seen to be the biggest problem with failing marriages when it comes to millennials, or why do marriages struggle and why do they fail when it comes to the millennials?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can give my perspective from my life experiences and what we've seen. For me personally, I never saw a healthy marriage growing up. So I was raised in a broken home. My father and my mother were separated. So I never got to see it firsthand what it looked like to have a healthy marriage. My wife was the same way. And all the friends I had either had divorced parents or parents were never married. And so it was like a cycle I saw throughout my community growing up. So firsthand, I had experience in it. And then as we started getting the ministry and the teens we were dealing with, we saw a repetitive thing with that. Or their parents were together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They weren't really together. So like it was unhealthy at home, or it was a marriage where the kids were like, I would never want to be in something like that. It wasn't never reflect. They never saw marriages or relationships reflected in a healthy, godlike aspect or point of view. So I think if that's what I've seen in my demographic, just being in California and Arizona, and statistically, we know divorce is 50% of American marriages end in divorce, and it's an epidemic. And so I think for millennials especially, it's like, why would I want something that is probably not going to work? Or why would I want something that I've seen cause so much pain, stress, frustration to my parents, you know? So I think it's kind of us doing this as an opportunity to fight the stigma, fight the stereotype. And it's not even, it's fight the facts. The fact is that most marriages, most relationships aren't healthy. That's just the facts.
Yeah, I would say that from my perspective, what we face when we're doing like premarital counseling and things like that with millennials especially is that it's a perspective and the fact of thinking that they have the same foundation, but then they truly find out like it wasn't founded on the same foundation to really go back to, and that's Jesus, and knowing that you have that strong relationship as a single person to just have that first and foremost in your marriage. And I learned that early on from great examples of different marriages that once we were married, it was kind of like that's when like crap hit the fan, right? But but then it was so awesome to be surrounded by people within church who did have healthy marriages that we weren't. We decided to just ask, like, how are you making it? How do you do this? And we would always have the same answer all the time, like, God, you know?
Really?
And it would be like, what does that mean though? Like, what does that
Right.
really mean? And honestly, it's so true. It's understanding the power of prayer. And I learned that from even your mama. And I love
Yeah.
Erin, like I love your mom so much, because it was just knowing, even from somebody who's wiser and understands marriage so well, is that the power of prayer and that foundation, and knowing that you can fight better. It's not saying that problems aren't going to happen, and that's not what Jesus taught us, but it's how to fight them right and to have that. And so I think for a lot of us, it's because the foundation is rocky and was probably never made renewed, it was founded on something together. That both couples came from different foundations, or maybe something that was a little cracked or broken before they even looked at it fully together, and realizing like something's wrong, something's not right, or something's a little off, and we need to reestablish this foundation together, you know?
That's good. Yeah.
I think also
No,
piggyback.
oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, 'cause I think another thing, especially for millennials in church, is that you see so many unhealthy relationships from people in church. So that makes it a worse turnoff, because you're like, well, they've been in church and they still didn't make it. And so I think sometimes is like she said, is making sure that it's not a religious thing, but having learning what love looks like. Because there's some people that have been going to church their whole lives and they still don't love well. They don't love the right way. And they've never experienced love, so they can't replicate what they haven't experienced. It's just been a religious experience. And then their kids, us, we look at that and we're like, well, we're in church all the time and they still didn't make it, or they're one way on Sunday, different way on Monday. So I really think that this conference is kind of birthed out of that need and that perspective.
That's really good. You mentioned something too, Delicia, about when marriages don't work, realizing that it's because your foundation, what you're building it on, may be, cracked or what have you. But when it comes to singles, in my own experience, because I am a single, and then having friends who are singles, I'm like single, not super single, but just single. But, in my own experience and with the friends I know, you're either like super tired of thinking this one's going to work out and then it doesn't, so you don't want to keep trying, or you're like, well, where is my other co-captain so that I can have a team with this ship, I can't find my co-captain, or like you're just kind of like you said, Justin, just super tired of it not working, or just seeing that it doesn't work, So with all of that being said, like what is you guys' heart when it comes to pastoring singles? And what advice do you give to them, through the frustration of you want to be in a relationship, but it's not working and it's so painful to keep trying, or, like you want to be okay just being single, but what are you guys' thoughts on all that?
Well, I love and admire singles, because I just feel like that's such a great time to have with God. And like I said, me and Justin met when we were 15, so that was something that I felt like I didn't really get so much of, and that was just the path God had for me. But I love,
you're welcome.
Yeah, you're so blessed. But I wanted to, I love being able to meet singles and talk to them, because it's something to help encourage them, because I'm the one on the other side of the road, and I know it's not as easy to always hear from the person who's already married, but at the same time, it's like letting them know, like, cherish this time, because it's such a great time to have with just God, and just to be able to do what he has for you as an individual, as a single, because he has a story just for you. And right now, before you start that journey with somebody else. And so I think you said it best, babe, where you were talking about as far as what's our favorite thing with singles when we're discussing it.
I was just saying, like, I think some singles, they mess up because they imagine that they're waiting on the right person. And that's not biblical. Waiting, like just sitting down on a bus stop waiting for the right person to come, is never what the Bible talks about when it says like waiting on the Lord. It more references like being a waiter, like at a restaurant. Like if I'm waiting, I'm actively doing something. I'm not just sitting down waiting for Mrs. Right or Mr. Right to come. I'm becoming the right person, but more so I'm focused on really being active in this season. I'm not waiting like, oh, that next season, once I get with someone, is going to be my best season. No, your best season is right where you are. And as I'm waiting, serving, getting connected, getting closer to God, getting connected with community, so I'm able to see what healthy relationships look like. And also allows me to set a standard for myself. Because once once you've waited and served and understand what God thinks of you and your purpose in life, then you have a standard that you're not willing to compromise in terms of relationships. So once you have that standard, then you're able to tell the real from the counterfeit in terms of, is this really the relationship God wants for me? Or is this something that will cause me to settle and miss out on the blessing he really has for me?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good.
Yeah. And I think it's important as singles to know is like, I think one of the things that I love ministering to them about is that it's this time of personal growth, and to be able to understand that when you come into a relationship, you need to be as a whole individual with God. He's your full source, your only source. The person that you're going to end up with and carry that next journey or chapter with is supposed to be your partner in doing that, not the one that takes over or you lose yourself in that person.
Yeah, they can't complete.
Yeah.
They can't completely you. Yeah, exactly. Like they complement you, and it's a cliche little thing to say, but it's so true. They don't bring wholeness to you. You need to be a whole person in coming into that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I want to ask you guys too, you guys have such a unique story, and obviously your testimony's out there. It's the links on my bio if you're watching and haven't seen it. Just the story of their relationship and their walk with God and how God grew them together, which is just a beautiful story. But with all of that in mind, I know that both of you guys respect the families that you come from, but you also have a great vision for the family that you want for yourself. And what are your thoughts about that? Because I'm even seeing that with my sister and Stefan. They just got married, almost 2 years ago now. And then Eldon and Lexi, they just got married. And, each party is respecting the family they come from, but also trying to establish their own vision and their own path for them. And I want to know from you guys, like, what advice do you give to people that want to do that? Justin, you used the word fleet, which I love that, like, establishing your own fleet, and having the right fleet and all of that and building the right fleet. But but also like, what do you guys want for your family, knowing where you come from, but what do you guys want to build for you?
I think, one, the Bible talks about in Proverbs repeatedly, honor your father and mother, that your days may be prolonged. Honor your father and mother. Deuteronomy, honor your father and mother. So honor is essential to honoring where you came from, your parents. However, even before it says that, in Genesis, God says that a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. So I believe that in honoring my parents and honoring our parents, we honor them by creating boundaries with them. So I'm able to honor them by, appreciating their wisdom, getting their insight, loving them for who they are, but at the same time realizing that where I'm from and where we both come from is not going to sustain where we're going. It's like we're able to take the best things of where we learned and where we came from, while also establishing that this is a new legacy. This is a new generation that we're responsible for. And with that, you're able to create up healthy boundaries to where, for us, it's been great. Like we have non-negotiables, as far as we'll never disrespect our parents or in-laws or anything like that. We have a great relationship with both of them. But when it comes to like parenting our kids, there's no contradictions with what we say at our house to where when they stay at their grandparents' house or something like that. When it comes to our own marriage, our own conflicts, because sometimes our ships get stormy and rocky and things like that. And we have established that when we get counsel, we're careful with how we involve our parents, because at the end of the day, my mom loves me. She loves my wife. She's probably gonna love me more because she's mine, right?
Probably.
No, she doesn't.
So it's my job to make sure that I never put her in a position to where her integrity or her view could be compromised. Does that make sense? I protect her.
Yeah.
Because I've left where I came from and I'm responsible for where I'm at. And that just keeps things healthy.
And it's it's definitely to respect those boundaries and knowing that. And even when you come, either if you come from like a hard family or a great family, whatever the case might be, you still need boundaries regardless. Yeah. And because now it's you two becoming one, and you're creating more different things and new things together. And one of the things, even having children, and we're the only ones that have children in our family, is that knowing how to be okay with like, we're not going to do everything that I grew up doing, and you're not going to do everything that he grew up doing. We're going to create new traditions and new things for our family and what works best for us. And knowing that that's okay, that there isn't a cookie cutter way to what's a healthy family. Because I feel like every family has different seasons, like any other relationship, and you have to be okay in those seasons with your kids. But I think the biggest thing also is being a mom and parents as well in ministry and with our families, particularly. And what we want for our family is to know that we're present. We're present in kids' lives. And I think that they'll forever remember more than anything that we ever tell them or try to give them as far as traditions and things that we do, or, you know, they just want us present. They just want us present. And that's really big for us in the season that we're in right now, having 2 kids now, and having such busy lives. To anybody who's dealing with that and trying to juggle what they have, is knowing that you have the non-negotiables and the negotiables to what happens with your family, but always keeping your family present and your kids involved in everything that you do, and knowing why you do it, and letting them see that. And so I think that's huge too. And knowing that as a parent, and just with our families, is knowing like, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, and we love you guys, and we love everything about who you guys have brought us up to be, and everything that our family has created. But now God's given us to be able to create our own things together, you know, and they might look a little different.
And I think even at home, I think the biggest thing, as far as you said something about like, what we want our family to look like for the future, is for our daughters, we want them to be able to say that our parents were better off stage than on stage. Right. That our parents were better parents than preachers or pastors, and that I want my kids to authentically love Jesus, because they know that, and they authentically love the church because they know that the church never came before them. Right. And so they're able to have an appreciation. And we always like to say, we don't have to go to church, we get to go to church. You know, it's how we say things that kind of creates the culture for our own family, is that we get to serve people, we get to do life with people, we get to be, you know, at these different events. We don't have to do anything. It's good. The only thing I got to do is stay black and die. But
why?
You just have to.
That's the talk I have with my daughter. It's like, she knows.
No, that's good.
You just have to stay black and die. That's it. That's it.
Two most important things in life. Two most important things in life.
It's really simple.
But I want to ask you guys about friendships, because you guys, observing you over the last 2.5 years, you guys have you have a great way of relating to people, and people enjoy relating to you guys. And I think because you just have such a heart of love for people and a genuine desire to walk with them more than like change them, just to see them grow and meet them where they are, which I think is a beautiful trait that you guys carry. But I want to ask you, because I understand as well as you guys what it's like to move, to establish your life and family and church life in one state and to move to another state. And how do you manage, like, 2 questions. 1, like, what's the key to healthy friendships? But then 2, like, how do you manage friendships when they're seasonal, when you're changing states and life is different? How do you guys manage those things?
You're a better friend than me. You answer this.
No,
I would agree with that.
I knew he was gonna do that, and no. I genuinely love this topic. I love this topic. I would say, in a nutshell, what has helped me have healthy friendships is knowing. Holly Furtick said it best, and I don't even want to like try to change it up because she just said it so great. She said friendships are not found, they're formed. And I love that, because it says it in a nutshell, that the fact that they're hard work, and that to keep them and to go to, you're distracting me. I don't know who you're talking to. I know. Okay, so and knowing that, like, it's not even a negative thing about that. It's like knowing, like, even when times get rough, when things don't always go your way, it's
Yeah.
or it's not what you expected. And that's the biggest key. What has helped me is stop having expectations on people.
Mhm.
And I loved Justin and I were talking about it, and it goes back to what I think all relationships need to know as far as when it comes to friendships and even your family, is to always, and even with our kids, we learn you've always had to have your hands open. Don't hold on to them so tightly that you are holding on and choking out what God has for them and for you. Because sometimes healthy relationships is letting go. And it doesn't mean healthy relationships are always holding on and that you guys are BFFs forever and you are ride or die. And I feel like God brings, but he also allows others to leave because it's the season that you're needing to become and go to the next place that you probably wouldn't have ever gone if they never left, or you probably would have never done, you know? And knowing that it's not easy. It's been definitely a challenge, but I truly believe it's given me peace and a lot of just contentment in my friendships, and knowing that I don't have expectations anymore. I'm not putting people at this place of that they can't meet or they won't ever be able to reach because there's such high expectations of what I feel like a friend should be. And that yet I'm not being myself to them. So that's what I would say about healthy friendships.
I just think I think we're passionate about them because we know how much we need them. I think that for me personally, I want to be the type of friend. I think of what Proverbs says, as iron sharpens iron, one friend sharpens the countenance of another friend, meaning that I need people in my life that make me better, but also that I add value to. I don't want to be like a leech friend or that consumer friend where I'm always taking out of the relationship without contributing. So I look at, like, in every area of my life, I want a friend that's a better husband than me, that inspires me to be a better husband.
Yeah.
I want a friend that's a better pastor than me, that inspires me to lead better. I want a friend that is a better friend than me, that teaches me how to be a better friend. You know, I just need people in my life that I can learn from, glean from, but also I can find ways that I can add value to, that I'm being, you know, I'm reciprocating what they're putting out for me. And I think that's the balance. I think that's what makes every healthy friendship or relationship, is that it's just you guys are sharpening each other. And the thing about that verse is sharpening comes with friction. So I wouldn't say we're friends unless we have like a disagreement or a fight or you know what I mean? Like, unless we've gotten to that place where we were able to have some friction and we came out of it sharper, that's what a friend is. If you have that friction and then they break away, you realize, hey, that was just an acquaintance that God put in my life for a season. And I'm able to appreciate them for, like she said, for the season I had them. But I know that there's someone else that God's going to bring me back that I can keep, you know, being who I am, but I'm going to get sharper.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you guys, because I know plenty of people know that I go to Impact Church, you know, and I, you know, announced at the beginning that that's where you guys go and pastor with youth and young adults. But for those who aren't familiar with Impact and maybe want to check it out and check out what you guys are doing, and Pastor Travis and Natalie and all the staff and everything, like, how can they get in touch with you guys and visit? Like, what's the info for all of that?
So first of all, you got to come to the best church in the world, called Impact Church in Scottsdale, Arizona. If you live in another church, or if you live in another state, if you live in another church, if you live in a church, stay there, because we can't house you.
We're not open all the time.
So, we
got hours.
Yeah. But no, we're blessed to be a part of the great community, the best community, under the best leadership. And it's Impact Church in Scottsdale, and we're blessed and privileged to oversee youth and young adults. So every Thursday night, 7 p.m., we have young adults Bible study. Every Wednesday at 6:30, we have teen rally nights. And then personally, if you feel interested in connecting with us through social media.
Why are you saying like that? Like, this is like so weird.
I think I'll never be able to get the biggest compliment I've ever received is earlier. Erin said that our message is in the link in her bio. I feel like in this generation, like, that's the pinnacle of like friendship. Like I'm in her bio. Like, if you go to her page, like, that's you're a real
your expectations are too low, man.
But yeah, I think mine's
MVP.
I am Justin Hamilton. I am Justin Hamilton.
Dang, I have to say all that? Like, hold on. I don't even know. Like, is it at Delicia Hamilton? I think it's at.
Yours is Delicia underscore Hamilton. Delicia
I
underscore
wasn't
Hamilton.
I wasn't prepared to be like knowing all the Instagram handles and stuff.
She's not addicted. She's not.
I'm
Right.
not.
She's not trying. Just add
No,
me.
that's
Just
okay.
forget it then. Just add me. She doesn't want you.
I'll put the links in the blog post later, so you don't have to. It's okay. You don't have to memorize it.
Yeah.
But
And
Okay.
most importantly,
I
I
love
would
you.
say, get your ship together. Relationship conference coming February 8th and 9th. We're really excited about it. We think it's going to be a huge blessing to everyone in attendance, and that it'll be something that really changes the culture and the family dynamics of everyone in attendance. Because you can't leave there and not be better for yourself, better for your future spouse, your current spouse, your family. Every ship that's connected to you will be transformed, I believe, if you come to this conference. That's high expectations, dang.
No, it's gonna be met though. It's gonna be met. It's gonna be good. But thank you guys so much
Thank you so much for having us.
Love
Yeah.
you,
Thanks for letting
Erin.
us be the
Love you too.
25th guest.
Yes.
Hey, you're welcome. You'll probably be another guest soon too. So.
Whatever.
You're
Love
the
you.
best.